Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Gladi Cologne.
And I'm Laura Hartman.
And you're watching Brand New Day on Be Well TV. Catch us here on every Thursday for a brand new episode. Today we have an awesome guest lined up for you. We're going to be talking about, once again, hospitality, LinkedIn, coaching advice, and all kinds of stuff we have.
Social media
fun, yeah, everybody's favorite topic. Yeah. So without further ado, we would like to welcome our guest, Shannon Orme, Jack of all trades and founder of Pivot Consulting Group. Welcome, Shannon.
Welcome.
Thank you, ladies. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're so happy to have you here. You're from our own backyard in Orlando.
That's right.
How many years have you been in Orlando?
Oh, 23. I took a deep breath. 23 years, yes. Good old Disney brought me down here.
Really?
And I never left.
Where were you originally from?
Upstate New York.
Oh,
I say
okay.
upstate, right?
Yeah.
You have to do the further upstate New York, not the city.
Yeah.
Well, Shannon, we've been working with you for a few years. You used to be very heavily involved with the DMC world.
Yes.
And now you're working for yourself,
Yes.
Pivot Consulting Group.
Yeah.
So we thought we would invite you on to give our viewers some advice
Sure.
on the things that you're working on. But first, we want to talk a little bit about your background.
Sure.
But before I invite you to tell us your 2020 story, your furlough story, and where you were before, we were just having a conversation before we started filming, and I thought it would be fun to tell everybody what job we first had when we were teenagers, because we always start about,
I told you there'd be a game.
we always start about what were we doing in 2020,
Right.
or what has our adult careers been like. So why don't we start? Who would like to go first? Why don't we start by saying, what is that very first job that you ever got?
Well, let's have our guest of honor go first.
Oh, I would be happy to. Moved around as a child, and my first job was actually paper route in California, not in San Francisco, but in the Bay
Wow.
Area.
Okay.
But 10 years old, carrying those papers.
Oh my gosh.
And then, just different jobs along the way. But my first job when I first moved down here, worked at Walt Disney and did hospitality at the Primetime Cafe. I was the little sister in that
cool.
very big tutu and crenolin and welcoming everybody
how
inside and
fun.
having fun.
Can we go back
So-
to the paper route for a second?
Oh,
So
sure,
I'm
sure.
picturing you with a helmet and like the little saddles that have the things. Is that not how it was?
No, it wasn't. My mother had this very big station wagon,
Oh.
but on the other hand, she would drop us off and say, "Here's your wagon," and we would pull our wagon from door to door. But you know what? It built
Yeah.
character,
That's
and
awesome.
it was. I don't even remember. I think I made $2 the entire day.
It's amazing.
You did that with your siblings?
My brother, yes, yes. It was probably his paper route, and then I was conned into
He drug
joining
you
him,
over, yeah.
But yeah.
You do all the work.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Laura, you're up.
Okay, my very first job, I was actually 14, and I'm from Columbia, Missouri, and that's where I grew up, and I was working at a country club and fitness club, and I worked at the tennis check-in desk.
Oh, wow.
Like where the tennis courts were, when the members would show up, I would check them in on the little clipboard.
That was not a paper route.
Seems very
I would check
fancy
them in
for
on
a
the little-
teenager, right?
Yeah, I would tell them you're on the clay court, or you're on this
Oh,
court.
I love it.
And,
So did mom hook you up with that job, or did you get it yourself?
I think my mom might have been, I don't know. We were members there, and so then I think we got like a discount on the membership. And I also worked at the snack shack in the summer, so I rotated between the tennis little gig to the snack
How
shack.
fun.
So that was my
Yeah.
first F&B job, I guess you could
there
say.
you go.
Officially, yeah.
There you go.
I think my job was a first official F&B job as well, but I will go on record saying my very first job till this date was my favorite job ever.
What was
Okay,
that?
this is a
Can't
bold,
wait.
big, bold statement, but my very first job was a movie theater usher.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
I
when I
should
was
have known that about you.
16 years old.
Oh, yeah.
In my hometown, Melbourne, Florida. And at first I wasn't sure about it because my mom made me get it and I was sweeping the popcorn. But then we got to watch the movies like Thursday night before they premiered on Friday. So you got to stay up until I mean, best job I've
Yeah.
ever
You
had.
guys beat me. Hands down, beat me on the first job.
Right, like how defining those first jobs were. 'Cause
Absolutely.
I know you're still a movie geek.
I
like,
am.
at heart, and it went through your whole family. Your nieces ended up working there.
Yep.
And
Yeah. Three
I-
sisters worked
funny?
there, and then my niece, ended up working there like 16 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I apparently just stayed in hospitality ever since. And you're not doing papers anymore.
No, I love
but-
reading online though.
Yeah.
Funny.
Perfect.
Well, let's fast forward to 2020.
Sure.
Shannon, tell us a little bit about yourself. What
Sure.
were you doing before last year, and how did that lead to your consulting company now?
Yeah, so basically I always said I did the fun for meetings and events. And what that meant is I worked for a destination management company where I was able to do everything from the awards dinners, helping create memorable experiences for associations, major corporations, and really having the pleasure of working with the two of you. And then, of course, COVID did hit, the pandemic, and moving into that is where I did receive the phone call for the furlough, and I couldn't sit still. And I really realized staying engaged with people on a positive level was through LinkedIn. And that's really what started this whole new journey that I'm on right now.
Yes, with your previous role,
Yeah.
you found that using LinkedIn helped you engage more with your customers who were remote, who you couldn't
Absolutely.
interact with a lot. So let's
Yeah.
start there, and let's try to
Sure.
give our viewers a little bit of LinkedIn advice. You could really use
Yeah.
it for two things these days, to my knowledge. Personal profile,
Sure.
and then a business page.
Yeah.
I know it has a lot more tools, but those are the two main ones we use them
Sure.
for.
Right.
So let's start with personal.
Sure.
How do you use that platform to engage with your customers?
Well, again, you hit the nail on the head. I simply was finding that most people were working from home. So doing those sales calls, going into everybody's office, I was missing people. But also here I was engaging with them easily at receptions. I'm
Yeah.
the extrovert, you know, like, hey, let's get together. I
Yeah.
could build that relationship, but how did I maintain it?
Yeah.
So it wasn't just the people working remote. It was how did I engage with them on a personal, authentic level throughout my, years of
Right.
working with them. And then what brought me back to on the personal side is it wasn't a corporate page. So it didn't mean that I couldn't share what my company offered, but I was able to take bits and pieces of articles and send it to that client that thought, hey, I really would love to do this new event, or the latest color schemes produced by, so-and-so are gray and yellow. And I would share that, again, not just spamming them with newsletters.
Right,
It was
right.
a personal touch, and it was very well received.
I can imagine.
Something specific from that article.
Absolutely.
So would you find that it was better for you to send them a private message or to do something on your feed and tag them?
No, I never tagged people because, again, for me, the reason I chose LinkedIn is I felt Facebook and Instagram were a little bit more personal. And doing the research, we know now, right, that for B2B business,
Right.
it's LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. But again, to answer your question, no, I wouldn't tag people because I felt I wanted to ask permission. And I still believe so. Unless you ask
Yeah.
permission, I don't recommend tagging people. But I would send it in a private message, and then I would instantly get that feedback.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice because you customized
Correct.
your message.
Correct.
So what advice do you have for people who do get, I don't want to call it spam, right? Because so many people, so many businesses have gotten very clever and they're sending you what seems to be a customized message,
Sure.
but you don't know this person.
Sure.
So what advice do you have for people who get those messages? Do you just let them sit there? Do you respond?
Well, I think the first thing is what type of audience are you trying to build? What type of network do you want? So if that person who is reaching out to you is it within your industry, connect with them. If they are trying to sell you something, just be yourself. I'm not interested. I'm not the right person. Again, if you can just be kind and share that message
Yeah.
back to them, usually the conversation stops right there if they say,
Yeah.
no, thank you, I'm not interested, right?
Sure. Yeah.
If they're outside of your business and your network, I'm just that kind of person, like, okay, I'm going to accept that offer. I think it takes a lot for people to personally send you a message and say, please connect.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't want to dump too much on the corporate side, but even a corporate page, corporations don't just send you it. It's either the president, the marketing person, because they realize that it is a personal connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
LinkedIn, fun fact, they'll actually shut you down if you start sending out so many emails and say, you've connected with X amount of people, we've locked your account.
Yeah.
And you're locked for
You're going to LinkedIn jail.
LinkedIn jail.
LinkedIn jail.
Yeah, people have messaged me like, what did I do? I didn't post anything. And I'm like, you just weren't authentic. You weren't being yourself.
Yeah.
And they saw it and they like, I was. I said, but you can't do that many in a day. You know, it's just, it's not what they're looking for.
So speaking of being yourself, now your personal profile.
Sure.
Are there any tips that you can provide that people can do to kind of brush up their profile?
Absolutely. LinkedIn will actually give you a star underneath your dashboard and it will say all star on it. And when you're building your page, the first part is a headshot. So many people, again, take these awesome, glamour shots, but we also look at everything not just on TVs or screens. We look at it on our mobile devices. So now your like beautiful long shot is like, I can't tell who that is. So make sure you have a proper headshot. My daughter, 12 years old, took that picture of me. And I realized I was like, this picture's really old before. So my daughter, Audrey, took this picture of me. Then behind that is what I call it the billboard. It's called a banner. And I say it's a billboard because if you drive down the street, what catches your attention? So it should be the same thing when you're online. They say it's 7 seconds, you get 3 seconds, it's whatever. You're only getting a moment's of attention. So photo, banner, and then your headline. Don't just say that you're a director of sales. You're more than that, right? Define who you are. Share experiences that you're a foodie, a wine sommelier, or a photographer. We're all professional. I see that all the professional sales. Well, I hope you're a professional person, right? So
especially if you're using LinkedIn.
Right. So think about it and how you're communicating. And then there's an about section. LinkedIn is all personal. It's never should say Shannon Orme, the reason I did this. You're connecting, it's forcing you to connect with your audience on a personal level and build those relationships.
Wow, it's really nice.
So there's more, but those would be the top, again, really it's the first part of the page that I would say focus on.
Seems simple, but so many people take that for granted. How many people do you see with like sunglasses on in their picture on their headshot? Or drinking a glass of wine. Like we all like to enjoy a glass of wine, but maybe not LinkedIn is the platform for that. Maybe you should do that on Instagram. But it's all great advice. Wow, that's awesome. Things you don't think about. And so then let's transition to business pages because now people are starting to use that a lot more. Now I know, looking at some recent stats, LinkedIn has a lot of followers. I think correct me if I'm wrong, some around 400 million. It still seems low, but Facebook was around 2 billion. But it still is, like you mentioned earlier, one of the largest B2B platforms for business. So I have noticed an uptick on people using LinkedIn for business. So where do we start there? I mean, do you encourage, what type of businesses do you encourage to be on there?
Anybody who is looking for that B2B relationship. LinkedIn publicized back in March of this year, their increase is up 89%. Well, of course it is, right? We get that. We understand. But people are joining the network, over hundreds of people within 1 second. And it's because, just to take you back 1 second, is LinkedIn is not just for job search. There's LinkedIn Learning. So I'm actually the biggest geek about LinkedIn Learning. You can learn so much on there. You can brush up on all your skills.
What is LinkedIn Learning?
Oh my God, we're all gonna just sit and maybe have a glass of wine and do some LinkedIn Learning together. You can do everything from brushing up on your skills on Excel or Word or PowerPoint, or there's a new course on public speaking or leadership skills.
Are a lot of these videos free?
So some of them are.
Okay, you just have to
I have to
find- you
use
have
my
to-
disclaimer. I don't
Yeah.
work for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Right.
But there is a premium.
Right.
And when you pay for the
Okay.
premium, it unlocks the door.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
And
so
I'm telling
that's one
Gotcha.
of the benefits. I feel like that's
Absolutely.
that ongoing. I see
Right.
it in group chats all the time.
Right.
Does anybody pay for it? And what are the benefits? And
That makes
it's-
To me,
it's a
that's
little-
the number one benefit.
That's
It
number
really
one.
kind of ties with connections, but
Yeah.
LinkedIn Learning, they will actually give you certifications. You can take classes on
Mm-hmm.
Salesforce, Siva. I mean, it's everything you can imagine.
Okay.
It's like this big library of online school.
Okay.
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 And so LinkedIn Learning, job searching,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then companies that you mentioned. So the B2B business. So many people come to me and they go, well, I don't have any influencers. I'm just starting my business.
Right.
And the thing that we all need to remember is your privacies are all open, right? Meaning the public can see it. So
Right.
I joke and you can see the thumbs up, right?
Yeah.
If you like something, I can see it. Well, Laura, if you've thumbs up something, I know that you've liked it. You've
Yeah.
just influenced me to go to somebody else's page.
Right.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So again, for any corporate business that's looking for that type of clientele and looking to their employees and encouraging them to reshare their posts, share why they are, sharing the post,
Yeah.
Right.
using the proper hashtags and at mentions. It's so powerful. And
Yeah.
all I could say it's so powerful, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Try it one time and you'll go, holy moly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I've heard for that exact same scenario about I just started and we were in that position ourselves of I've heard people say, well, I don't want to have a business page because no one's going to see that. I would rather just talk about my business on my personal because I have the 4,000 connections here.
Sure.
It's like starting all over. And I mean, we started our own H&F business page, and it's just been doing that work to try and boost the engagement
Yeah.
and working that page. Is that the proper way to go about it, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Because for most companies, you're not selling just yourself,
Right,
right? You know, there are the consulting firms, but then hopefully your company's growing, and it's
Yeah.
not just Shannon Orme. So building, that's the goal, is to build your brand
Yeah.
and broaden your network. So the information that you may share on your personal page might be a little different than the company
Right.
page, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to encourage and follow new people along the way.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And that
Yeah.
I think, speaking of, like, we're a partnership. So a lot of times businesses, you're not maybe doing it all by yourself. There might
Right.
be a partner. And so in our case, we kind of looked at it as, yes, everything about H&F exemplifies us individually, and that was kind of the purpose. But at the same time, we do have our, as much as it's hard to see, we do have our own identities. And she likes to post about her hotel, and I want to post about my hotel
Right.
and my interests, or
Sure.
maybe my own projects that
Sure.
don't always necessarily need to fall under the umbrella of,
Right.
of her.
The
And so
yeah.
I could see how that is another benefit to, if you have a partner, a business partner, everything should be about the brand versus who you are as individuals.
Well, and if you think too, it's one of these things, you hear these statistics and you're like, really? They gave out a new statistic, 3, 2, 1 is the concept.
Okay.
The 1 is actually in a week, post 3 articles, 2 articles, then 1 article. Well, what are those 3, 2, 1s?
Okay.
The 1 is about your brand.
okay.
The 2 could be a quote about who you are.
Okay.
The 3 could be educational. It could be sharing about Visit Orlando and look what they've done, or the new regulations that it doesn't have to be just about your properties
Yeah.
or your brand.
Yeah.
Why do people want to come and listen to you, and what are you going to share with them along
Yeah.
the way? So
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to hear because all you want to do is brag about your hotel
That makes
properties.
so much sense.
Right.
Yeah, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about how LinkedIn is constantly changing too,
Sure.
and it's even hard to keep up with the new additions and things like that. I had to write one down because I
Yeah.
wanted to see if you knew anything about the specialties section
Yes.
in the business page. Do we like it? Do we love it? Do we use it a lot?
What is
can
it?
You I don't, well, that's what I'm saying. It's brand new. The specialties section.
Yes. So specialties is really what it means. So what you would do, and you're talking specifically on the corporate page,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So on the corporate page, when you're putting your about in there, what is your specialty? Why would people come to H&F?
Right.
Right? Same thing, why would people come to Pivot? So public speaking. I think you can put up to 20 in there if I remember correctly. And
They're keywords, right?
keywords.
Yeah.
And so what those keywords, again, it's kind of one of those things like you don't want to believe exists. There's that algorithm out there and it's talking to it and it's helping people direct to your page. Okay? So it doesn't have to be set in stone.
Right.
So say you have a few that are talking about brand, new businesses, women in business, whatever, again, this broad portfolio of specialties that will draw people to your page and then track it, right? The cool thing about a corporate page, it's free. Same thing with a personal.
Yeah.
You can only enhance it if you want to, right? You can invite over 100 people and then it starts you over in another X amount of days.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So after you're tracking it, yeah, you're like, I've invite. If you track it and you look at your data, right, that they provide to you, I would say, you know what? This one word is not really working for us, or I haven't seen a lot of people within that industry coming over. Switch it. Make sure you write a little note to yourself and then change it again.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Listening to you talk, I can listen to you all day long.
I know, there's so many questions.
That explains why you're so natural at public speaking, which is something else that you do.
Absolutely,
Right?
yeah.
So I want to kind of transition to that a little bit and tell us about how long you've been doing public speaking.
You know, since college, that was what my degree was in. That's what I went for. I really thought I was going to be on Broadway. I didn't start off with that. I didn't make it to Broadway, okay?
But you wanted to be in acting.
Oh, I so wanted to be. I went to the Crane School of Music. I don't think they even let me in. I quit way too soon. But I love public speaking because it's a conversation and I love connecting with people. And if I can help people along the way or educate them, that is what my passion is. So public speaking as a salesperson for a DMC, I did that every single day, coming in and doing presentations and showcasing. But also helping locally since the COVID hit, helping out with, what do I want to say, hospitality, like PCMA, local chapters, ILEA, just coming and showcasing and sharing what this, you know, how to be positive online, how to truly pivot and look at it. It's just a simple turn. That's all it is. And really connecting with people in the way that you would want to connect with. Right?
That seems like a super important topic that I think a lot of associations, that would make it totally makes sense to me why you would be asked to be a guest speaker to talk about that, because it's so relevant right now, and you're so passionate when you do talk about it.
Well, I think it's easy for some people, right? Like it's obviously easy for you ladies. You can carry, you know, a lot of people, once this is easy, but they get in front of a computer and then they start sending those spam, right? and how can we demystify that? How can we make it easier for people? Because it's not going away, and it's enjoyable once you get into it.
Do you find it easier to do online public speaking or in person?
So I love in person. So you took my, you know, I love live events. I love being in person. I love engaging with people. You'll find though that the format, the questions, the chat room, doesn't matter. I always have to have somebody there asking me questions along the way. So I enjoy both, but I would say if I were to pick one, I definitely enjoy being in person.
What advice would you give to someone who is afraid of public speaking?
To me, it's easy. You have to treat it as a conversation. There was a young lady who worked, she was in sales, and she would get very nervous, and she would have her note cards, and she wrote down everything. And I told her one day, I said, take those note cards, write the title of it, and then read it, and then just start talking. You know, and she was phenomenal because, again, you can be a great salesperson, you can be a wonderful employee at any level, but when we get in front of people sometimes, doesn't matter how large or small, you tend to freeze and think about your words. So I would just it's fine to write everything out. And then I tell you, take that and put it away. And go off cuff a little bit, but rehearse.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Isn't that what we talked about when we first started doing the show?
Well, it's interesting, and you were like, "Oh, you guys are, so natural with it." You're way more natural than I am. This is very scary for me.
Oh.
And I've always been very afraid of public speaking and getting up. But at the same time, it's one of those things that you just gotta suck it up and do it.
Right.
When the time calls, and you feel so empowered, you feel so good about yourself after that it kind of helps you move forward and do it the next time.
Sure.
And when you're passionate about what you're talking about, just like you clearly are, when you're passionate about what you're talking about, genuinely passionate, that enthusiasm just starts spewing out of you, and then it doesn't matter anymore because you're just talking about what you love. And I think that's what eased me into this a little bit better, is because I genuinely love what we do. But it's hard, it would be very difficult to get up in front of a room and talk about something that you're just checked out on.
Yeah, again, I without being redundant, just be yourself and think about the content that you want to talk about, rehearse it. Even I remember traveling in hotel rooms, and I'd sit there and talk to myself in the mirror, and I'd say it over and over and over again. I'm like, oh, don't say that, or rephrase it, or, this is more engaging. Try it out, and talk to a few people first. But bottom line, and my daughter's speech teacher's gonna really not like me because she makes the kids write everything out. And I always say to my daughter or my kids too, it's like, this is great, you're in this class, but write it
in your head after you write it, though.
It does. It just kind of becomes who you are and what you want to say.
Right. I think it's good to write it down ahead of time, but then, like you're saying, don't bring it with you wherever you're presenting, because then you're going to rely on it too much. And that's why we try not to have any notes. I've got a few here, but
which is great.
I can't rely on it.
I mean, the same thing, you would want to have a prompter, if you're doing a presentation in front of somebody. I usually just start with a deck and I start adding images. I'm more of an image person, and when you look at the image, you're like,
clever.
I can totally describe this. Nobody wants to see a presentation with every single word in detail all over it.
Right? That's a great idea, is to just have the imagery.
Yes.
Wow.
So tell us, what's your vision for Pivot Consulting? Where do you see it going, and what's your goal?
I know, I'm like ready to just jump all over it. I'm so excited.
I know.
There's so many goals. There's so many things that, again, I feel that I've been given this opportunity to start this. Not just public speaking, broadening my network, because again, my network has been hospitality for 20 some years, and I love that. But I would love for that to grow and help people become, again, more connected online positively, doing workshops. I'm just going to say it, because if you say it, that means that I have to do it. So I really want to write a book. I want to write a book about positive pivots, right? Like why we should look at things, and because that word really bothered me. I really hated it.
We'll give you some quotes for your book.
Okay. I really didn't like that word, and I thought, let's embrace it. And if we keep having that concept and that mantra, I think it will help. So there are so many things. Laura, I just need to get a little bit more organized, but right now I'm really enjoying helping consulting people one-on-one, doing the public speaking, helping companies, startups with their brand and their pages, and being a thought leader on the back end, for them.
Good for
That's
you.
awesome.
Well, at least you have two fans here.
Thank you.
We're going to follow your journey, and when that book comes out, we'll be there in line to pick it up.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
How do our viewers find Pivot Consulting Group? And you can look right into that camera and tell them.
I will. I would say the number one way is on LinkedIn, Pivot Consulting Group. You can also find me at Shannon Orme, and then my website. Do I have Facebook and Instagram and all those things? Yes, but what have I just talked about? Follow me on LinkedIn. I love to share information about what specifically is going on in the hospitality industry and here in Central Florida.
Beautiful. Couldn't have said it better myself.
I know. And as one of our upcoming innovators that we'll be featuring via HNF, you can find Pivot Consulting Group on our brand portfolio under our consulting category. So stay tuned to our website. Please subscribe to our blog, www.hfredefines.com. That way you can get Shannon's story as soon as we publish it. That'll be coming out in the next coming weeks. So we're very excited for this collaboration. And we just want to say thank you, Shannon, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you to our guests for joining us. And we hope that you have a brand new day with her help pivoting.
Let's connect.